Hey everybody, it's Mr. Defy. Welcome to my first geometry video. Yes! So I hope this is the first of many to come in the future. Today, as you can see, our topic is altitudes and medians of triangles. And I went ahead and made a quick outline of the major ideas pertaining to medians. And this is our first example on the left side. So just quickly going through this. To make a median, first of all, requires that you draw a line segment from a vertex, and it could be any vertex of a triangle, to the midpoint of its opposite side. And I want to go ahead and take a moment to really carefully illustrate this for you. So let's choose point K as an example. If I were to draw a median from point K, I would have to focus on the opposite side from that point, or from that vertex. And in this case, it would be segment ZL. Now, the midpoint is located right at the center of that segment, as we looked at in class, and that would be exactly right here. Okay, which is represented by letter, I believe that's I, but it's a bit covered by my blue mark there. So the median goes from the vertex, which is K, and it extends all the way to that midpoint, which I just put a moment ago. And that would be considered the median, or one of three medians of this this triangle. Excuse me. And there are a total of three medians in the triangles that we look at, because the triangle has three vertices. So, having considered that, when you make all three medians, as I can do over here, when all three medians intersect, they intersect at a place called, as you might be able to guess from the point right here, and the letter, they're called the centroid, which is to say that it's more or less the center. It is the center of the triangle. Whatever type of triangle you have, it's the center of that triangle. So it's called a centroid. Okay? And if you remember, we took this one step further in class. The centroid is essentially what's also known as a center of mass. So if you were to cut out this triangle and put the centroid right on top of the tip of your pencil or pen, what you should see is that when you let go, it balances perfectly. And the reason for that is because all the mass of this triangle is evenly distributed outwards from this centroid in all directions. And so you should achieve perfect balance, unless, of course, somebody comes by and swats it off. So that's the second thing. The intersection of all three medians is at a centroid. The third thing is what happens when they pass through a centroid. And what happens is every median is then divided into two parts, but they're not necessarily equal parts. So as an illustration, if you look here from point Z, or vertex Z, all the way down to point C, which is a centroid, that length is not exactly the same as that one, going from the same centroid, but to the rest of this median, to point H at the end of it. They're not the same. In fact, there's a special relationship between these two lengths, and the relationship is that this one over here, which is longer, is exactly twice as long as that one. So I could express it as you see over here on the right side. If you look at my list, that's exactly what I said right here. Okay? That the longer of the segments is double the length of the shorter one. And conversely, if you turn that around, then what you end up saying is that the long one is exactly half, the short one is exactly half the length of the longer one. So, sorry for that mix up there. But if I were to put it here, it would be this piece right there, CH, that segment, is exactly 1/2 the length of the longer, which is ZC. It's big brother, okay? It's half the size. So knowing that relationship, we can answer pretty much any question that comes our way about medians. And so let's go ahead and tackle this one that we see here. The question is, what is the value of x if we know that the segment CK is 4x plus 8, and KI is 8x plus 4. So, like I say in class, it's a good idea to label the diagram you have with the information you know. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So CK is 4x plus 8, whereas ki, which is the entire thing, that one is 8x plus 4. So in this one, what I know is the entire length, and I also know the length of the longer of the two segments, right? The big brother. I know that's 4x plus 8. What I don't know is ci, or at least it seems that way. But actually, if I remember the relationship that I mentioned earlier, which is that the length of the longer one is just double the length of the shorter one, or the shorter one is half the length of the longer one, I can write an equation and get my value of x. So here it is. It's going to be, geometrically, this is what it would look like. It would be the value of the entire segment, which is ki, that entire thing is made up of, and this goes back to the segment addition postulate, it's made up of kc, segment kc, plus the length of its smaller brother, which is segment ci. That's the letter I. And so what I can do now is just replace the names of the segments with the information that I know. So I know that ki, the whole thing, is 8x plus 4. Remember, that's the entire length. I know that kc is 4x plus 8. Now what about that ci? That ci, oh, it doesn't say much about it. But you think it doesn't, but it actually does. Because what we know about the shorter length is that it's exactly half the length of its older brother, which is kc in this case. So all I have to do is write what I know using what I have. So I know that ci is exactly half of its older brother, which is 4x plus 8. Now, that may look complicated at the moment, but it's about to become shorter real fast. So 8x plus 4, which is the whole thing, once again, is made up of 4x plus 8 plus, now if I take half of each of these terms inside the parentheses, half of 4x would then be 2x, and half of 8 would then be 4. That's a quick way to do it mentally. And then all I have to do is combine like terms. This is no longer a geometry task at this point. This is now going back to Algebra 1a and solving a multi-step equation. So breaking this down, I have 8x plus 4 is equal to, this would be 6x plus 12. And if I just do a couple of things at the same time, if I subtract 6x on both sides, I get 2x. If I subtract 4 on both sides, I would get 8. If I then divide by 2, I get 4, right? Because 4 times 2 makes 8. There's the value of x. X is 4. And with that, this question is answered. So what I did was, rather than trying to come up with, trying to recall some formula for piecing this together, I tried to use whatever I already knew, and what I already knew really helps a lot. There is another way to do this, which could be a little more complicated depending on how you view it. It would require that maybe you remember one more thing, but I just want to quickly introduce it to you without actually going through the whole thing, and that would be this. So the idea that this is exactly half the length of this means the following. It means that if this is half the length of that, it means that there are exactly 2 of them on this side, right? So this little piece right here fits right there, but it also fits right there. Now, if you look carefully at what this means, it means that I have a total of 1, 2, 3 equal parts, okay, where my divisions are right there, if you think about it. Okay, so 3 equal parts. So if that's the case, then what I know from the beginning is exactly, there it is, here it is. What I know is exactly this much, right? So that whole thing accounts for exactly 2 out of the 3 parts. In other words, KC is exactly 2/3 of the entire length going from K to I. Again, this is something that I just want to introduce to you without actually doing this question in this way. But it's another way that you could do it if you realize this part over here, that it's just 2/3 of the entire thing. So you have 2/3 of 4x plus 8, in other words. So if you were to do that, it would be 2/3 times 4x plus 8, because 4x plus 8 represents your CK length, which is from point K to point C. And then you just go ahead and do the math and get the same answer that you had before. So I hope this helped. If you have a comment, please go ahead and leave it for me so I can review it. And I'm always looking for ways to improve the videos. If I make a mistake, I want to go back and correct that so I present the most accurate information possible. I'm going to go ahead with a little more time than I have. I have about 5 minutes left. And I'm going to try to do this one in that time, but a little faster. So here's our second example. In the second example, again, I need to find the value of x. The value of x depends on knowing what pH and OH are. So pH is 3x plus 6, which is this, 3x plus 6. And over here, OH is 8x plus 4. So OH is the entire length, which is 8x plus 4. Now in this case, we are still dealing with medians. However, we're dealing with the end parts of the medians. In other words, the part of the median that touches down on the opposite side of the vertex it came from. And so I'm focusing specifically on this segment right there, that whole segment OH. And what I know is that point P is the midpoint of that segment, of that side of this triangle. And that helps a lot because what I know about midpoints is that it bisects a segment into two equal parts. So even though it seems like I'm not given the entire information, I actually am. So if pH is 3x plus 6, therefore that means that so is this. And that means algebraically I can represent my work in the following way. I have two 3x plus 6's, which equal a total of 8x plus 4. Geometrically, it would be proper to write it in this way. So you have 2 of the pH lengths that you were given is equivalent to 1 OH segment that you were also given. Okay, so it's good to start with the geometric statement and then replace it with the algebra. And then going ahead and solving this, if I divide by 2 here, this is a little trick as well. I can get 3x plus 6 is equal to 4x plus 2. And solving this, subtracting 3x on both sides and subtracting 2 on both sides, what I get is 4 is equal to x. And that's my value of x. Okay, I'm just about out of time, so I will make another video for the third example. So look for that coming up real soon. So I hope this helped. Again, please stop by, leave a comment. I'm always open to suggestions on how to improve my video. So thanks for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.